Well, a monitoring group says U.S.-led coalition airstrikes in Syria have left at least 43 people dead. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights says 17 children were among the victims. The UK-based group added that the attacks targeted Deir ez-Zor countryside in eastern Syria. U.S.-led coalition carries out regular air raids in Syria under the pretext of targeting Daesh terrorists. However, there have been many reports of civilian casualties on the ground. The coalition has acknowledged direct responsibility for over 1,100 civilian deaths in Syria and Iraq since 2014. But rights groups say the number of civilian victims is much higher. Crossing over to Tampa, Florida, joined by Scott Ricard, former American intelligence linguist and commentator. Thanks so much for being with us. Now they're talking about a monitoring group and talking about the number of airstrikes that the United States has carried out. And, of course, the latest one, 43 people dead, this time in Syria. Scott, we hear about this all the time. But it doesn't seem that anything gets taken care of, and Washington just continue doing what it's always doing. What has to happen to stop this in order for them? They're just basically going to other countries and doing at will what they want to do.
Well, to stop this, I think the first thing that needs to happen is people need to be made aware of the activities, and they need to get clear information. Unfortunately, the U.S. media and most Western media has been silent, not only about Syria, but certainly about Yemen as well. And these environments, the U.S. is setting records on the number of bombs that they're dropping per year now. They've never dropped more bombs in Afghanistan. Certainly, they're helping the Saudis drop bombs in Yemen. And obviously, the bombing campaign has picked up to support the group that the Americans are behind now. This specifically are the Syrian Kurdish YPG. This YPG group is the on-the-ground forces that the United States is providing direct air support, and obviously bombing campaigns have been horrendous. Just last week, over 2,000 bodies were discovered under the rubble of Raqqa from American bombing campaigns. So this is a horrific event in Syria. These the bombing campaigns are not being done precisely. 2,000 individuals under rubble in Raqqa should be an example of that. Also, this last bombing campaign on Thursday, over 17 civilians were murdered. These were just refugees escaping other YPG battles in the region. So this is just only awareness and making it, of course, channels like Press TV, RT, and others trying to get out and making their footprint more visible in the global community. Obviously, the United States is unfortunately very hoodwinked by their news networks, and certainly overly entertained and misinformed.
Yet, and Scott, with this type of tragedy taking place pretty regularly, unfortunately, if we ask most Americans, perhaps they would say the two countries that the United States is involved in, perhaps they would say Afghanistan and Iraq. Not likely to say other countries. There seems to be a very big disconnect between what the American government is actually doing outside of the country, especially from a military perspective, and what the American people, the average American, thinks that they're doing. You talked about, you touched on the aspect as far as the media and basically being more and more in the entertainment industry than actually informing the populace. So my question to you would be, in this age of technology, is it that Americans do not see other news? Do they not care? Or simply they know, but it's not affecting them?
Well, unfortunately, it's not just an American phenomenon. This is a human characteristic. I actually equate humans to sometimes parakeets, unfortunately. What you listen to the most and what you see the most, unfortunately, is what you're going to repeat. And we have individuals across the United States and around the world that watch their respective news networks and their commentary is typical of the channels or the stations in which they subscribe to. So those subscription mentalities are really what drive the public opinion. So sadly, in order to break through that, you're great lead into this. The technology is absolutely there to provide better information. Sadly, the habits and the desires of the human race is that we're actually, if we're accustomed to something, we feel more comfortable with that information that is unfortunately not in line with the information that we're usually seeing. Sadly, we reject it as human beings. So it's absolutely a human nature phenomena, and it's been taken advantage of by leaders for centuries, sadly. Certainly in the modern media, if you look at the work of Edward Bernays and his book Propaganda, there were actual strategies set up that governments have been using for the past 100 years to use media to control their society. So it's just a terrible situation, and certainly the more work that we can do and the more time that we spend getting the word out, I think is potentially going to touch more people over time, unfortunately.
All right. Thanks so much for being with us. Scott Ricard, former American intelligence linguist and commentator out of Tampa.
All right, Shalom. First, I'd like to start by saying all praise to Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Kakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles that rule well, and salutations to the brothers that's doing the truth and sincerity. Now, this isn't going to stop. It's just going to keep getting worse. America is going to keep killing people because that's the time we're living in. We're living in a time of war, and they are using a propaganda machine against the people. And, it ain't nothing anybody can do, even if they did know, because it's prophecy. So this is Matthew chapter 24, verse 6. It says, "And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled." And that's what you see going on in the Middle East. There's wars everywhere. And the ultimate war is World War III. That's why the U.S. is doing what it's doing, because they're trying to take the mineral resources of the nations and also, at the same time, bring about the New World Order. It says, "See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom." Right? Nation against nation, race riots, kingdom against kingdom. It's wars. And there should be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places, right? And that's happening. All these are the beginning of sorrows. All right, so there isn't any escaping, even if the American people were aware and did know, what was going on. And a lot of them do, they can't do nothing about it. This is over their heads, so to speak. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1. "To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven." It says, "A time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill." And as you can see, there's lots of killings going on because that's the time we're living in. "And a time to heal, a time to break down, and a time to build up." I'm going to jump to verse 8. "A time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace." Right. So, you people that's, watching these news clippings and these news outlets that's putting this information out there, know that we're in a time of war, the time of killing, because it's time that Yahushua is on his way back for the deliverance of his elect, the children of Israel, the blacks, and Native Americans. And the rest of the nations are going into slavery. So said the Bible. This is Micah chapter 2, verse 1. "Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds," talking about the elites. "When the morning is light, they practice it." Right. So they came up with that propaganda campaign to bring about the New World Order, man, which is a destruction unto them. You know, them being in them other countries, all that was planned out. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand, and they covet fields, right? And that's another reason why they're over there in the Middle East, because they trying to take lands and take them by violence. That's why they're occupying a lot of these nations. And houses and take them away, so they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. And that started with Israel. That's who they really messed up when they did it too. Therefore, thus said the Lord, behold, against this family do I devise an evil, from which ye shall not remove your necks, neither shall ye go heartily, for this time is evil, right? So they're going to be judged because of it. It's another scripture that say that Esau is as death. Wherever he goes, he brings nothing but death. That's why so many killings and stuff over there. That's a characteristic of the white man. Esau, the devil. This is Joel chapter 3 verse 1. For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem. Right, and that starts with the Lord waking up his men out there that's doing the work. Giving them the knowledge. Because it's the time of deliverance coming. I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. And they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they may drink. And that happened during slavery to the black/Native Americans. Or Judah is being sold on the auction blocks. And the other tribes too did go into slavery too. It says, yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon? That's them Africans, because we are not African. And all the coast of Palestine, will ye render me a recompense? And if ye recompense me, swiftly and speedily will I turn your recompense upon your own head. Right, so for them putting us in slavery, we're going to get to put them in slavery. Because ye have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have you sold unto the Grecians, which are these Edomites. They sold us into slavery, that you might remove them far from their border. Right, and our border is the land of Israel. That's where we from. We're not from Africa. Behold, I will raise them out of the place whither ye have sold them, and will deliver your recompense upon your own head. Right, so all this wars and stuff that's going on is for the sake of Israel. And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hands of the children of Judah, and they shall sell them to the Sabeans, to a people far off, for the Lord has spoken it. Right, so this is prophecy. The Lord said, this was going to happen, that Israel was going to be woke back up, and he's going to bring the nations down to Jehoshaphat to fight. And this is what you see going on. So with that being said, all praise to Yahweh Shema Shai, Bashim Kakadash, double honors to the elders and apostles of well, and salutations to the brothers and sisters in the truth and sincerity. Shalom.